I'm Julie Alexandria.
And I'm Jennifer Mercedes.
Between the two of us, we have over 2 decades of experience working in professional sports.
We're telling the stories of women who are at the top of their game in sports and business.
Welcome
to the locker room.
Welcome to a very special edition of Locker Room Talk, and welcome to The Locker Room. I'm Julie Alexandria.
And I'm Jennifer Mercedes. Well, that's it. We did it. Over 20 episodes of incredible conversations with trailblazers and women leading across sports and business. They were all amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Incredible conversations that we had throughout the year. And to wrap up our first year, we wanted to take some time to celebrate some of our very favorite moments. This first clip comes from Jessica Mendoza. I love Jessica Mendoza. I wish we could have her on every single day just to inspire us. ESPN analyst. She's a trailblazer. I mean, no question. You've heard her name. You've heard her voice watching an MLB game. I am sure of it. But what makes her even more amazing and special and wonderful is her passion and her energy and dedication to other women in the industry and wanting to uplift and enrich those around her. She imagines a world where having a woman on the sidelines or a woman in the booth isn't considered a minority or just quote unquote checking the box. So that is exactly what we are trying to do here on Locker Room Talk to inspire the next generation of women in sports. Take a listen. Here's Jessica Mendoza.
I think it's important for us to have a sisterhood. I mean, honestly, like for there to be this feeling of like, you're not alone, and it's amazing. And I mean, honestly, I feel like we're family within this space, having just met, because, and I know Jennifer, before we got on, you mentioned Alana Rizzo. Like when I see a lot of these women, there's an instant, Marley Rivera, who also works at ESPN, you know, you just feel this openness to be able to talk about real things, help each other, you know, whether it's other women in the industry, whether it's other Hispanics within the industry. It's just an understanding of being a minority and being one of few, and knowing that like, hey, I'm here to help because I want there to be more of us. And I love the idea of the day where we don't even notice female, male, Hispanic, brown, nothing. Like it's just people doing their job and killing it at what they're doing. And until we get to that point, it's like, okay, how do we bring more women along? How do we understand? And it's by like going up to each other and just being like, I got you. What do you need help with? Like, you know, hey, you need more information on this team. Do you want to know how to do a 30-second hit or instant analysis on this? Like, let's talk, communicate. And my number's here. You can always reach out, so we can literally be there to help each other.
Jessica is amazing. That is literally why we started the show. We talk about it all the time, right, Jen?
Yes, absolutely. And now our next clip comes from our very first show with my sister in my head, Miss MJ Acosta-Ruiz. And this conversation was so inspiring for me because I could relate. And these are conversations that need to happen to allow women to be empowered. So let's check out this clip with MJ.
So here's part of like the cultural shift, right? Like I was in Miami before, where I'm Dominican, as you know, Jeffrey. Like I had all the Dominican hairstylists that could, their like point of pride is being able to press that hair, girl, make it straight as possible. You're gonna have the best flow of your life. It was a cultural thing. It was almost a rite of passage for me as a kid to get my hair chemically straightened, right? Because the mindset was, the more Eurocentric you look, the more successful and the more acceptable you will be. And that doesn't just go for communities of color. This is what the mainstream media tells us and feeds us from the moment we enter this planet. So it's very hard to sort of undo that mind bleep as you're especially coming into the industry. Then you get into broadcast, and there's 5,000 consultants that, you know, your station or your managers bring in to tell you, you have to look like this. But all the other people that are in the little boxes on the screen look like this. So if you don't look like that, you're never going to make it. So that's what I did. I feel like that's what I had to do. Fast forward to San Diego, where there was no one who knew how to handle all this. I still don't know how to handle it. You know what I named my fro? It's Angela.
Yes.
She has her own
personality.
personality.
I remember you asked me if there was anybody that I could recommend that gave a good blowout.
Yeah, it was impossible. So what happened was, it was getting very, very damaged. And I often speak about like sort of having to fit yourself in that box, and it eats away a piece of you, like a part of you dies. A part of me was literally dying, and it was my hair. It was so damaged by that point because I had to do it myself, and it's just you're running around, you're going to practices, you're going to games, you have to be on air, you have to like put all of this heat on it. I would brush it, ladies, and it would like wither away at the end. I was like, y'all, I'm about to be bald. Then what? Then what am I going to do? So one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let it breathe. And then I let it breathe for like a day too long. And I was like, shoot, I got to get to the station. It's going to take me like 3 hours to blow dry my hair. I don't have that time. So I was like, well, this is what it's going to be today. And I literally thought I was going to throw up before I walked into the news station. I was like, what's my boss going to say? What are the viewers going to say? But like, there's literally no time. There's no time. So this is what it is. And I was shocked at the positive response. Everyone was like, what? We didn't even know your hair was curly. Like, how would you? I'd never worn it like this before. And I was like, all right, bet I'm going to ride this train as long as possible. And like the shift in how I felt about myself, being authentically who I was. I mean, I felt like my entire life changed from that moment. I know it seems sort of trivial, right? Like, oh, it's just there, but especially for us, it's a lot. This is the first thing you see. If your hair ain't right, you're not gonna feel right that day.
I mean, don't you just love MJ? Because I do. I don't know how you cannot love MJ. But now this next clip with MJ as well spoke to me on just so many different levels, because I remember being told not to wear hoop earrings because it was quote unquote ghetto. And after having this conversation with MJ, it just reaffirmed to me that, you know what, people don't know their ish. So let's listen to MJ talk about how she can wear her hoops and talk ball.
I think people think I became a Miami Dolphins cheerleader and then I became a reporter. I was 28 when I became a Miami Dolphins cheerleader. So I was already in the business. I was already reporting. I was already hosting. So I was doing both at the same time. And that is a very direct reflection of sort of what I stand for. You don't have to strip away your femininity or your masculinity or your non-binariness or whatever it is that you are inherently does not equate your qualification for this job. So whoever you are and however you come to the party, that is not only okay, but it's needed in the space. So if you want to come in here and I want to wear my hoop earrings and my red lipstick, guess what? I can still talk ball just like everybody else. And so I think stripping away those very archaic industry standards have always been sort of very important to me. Like, stop it. Just because you think I should look a certain way, I'm sorry. Who named you like the grand poobah of my life?
MJ's journey is just so inspiring to me. And I feel that it is so important that we celebrate and share these stories of women who are breaking through in their own way.
Absolutely. And another one of our favorite moments comes from our time with Miss Sarah Spain of ESPN. Now, she's a host, she's a writer, she's a contributor, she has her own podcast. Sarah speaks about using her voice, her platform, and her experience to the very best of her ability in bringing her most authentic self to the forefront. That's a word that we heard a lot during these interviews, right, Jen? Authenticity and how important that is. She says, I can do this and be liked, or I can do this and be great. And, you know, so often, Jen, I feel like we as women become so caught up in the being liked, especially in this industry when you're on camera and basically your career is based off of your likability from the crowd, from the players, from the producers, whoever may be in that chair for making those decisions on how much airtime you get, right? Well, Sarah is all about having the confidence to be her true self and ask for what she wants, and bringing new and interesting ideas to the table that she herself is personally invested in. And that, she says, has been the difference maker in her career. So here is Sarah Spain. Check it out.
When I first started out at ESPN 1000 Radio, I was the first woman that they'd had on the air in a regular position in 11 years. And so I started out really just trying to not stand out in bad ways. I wanted to be the girl that everyone wanted to grab a beer and talk sports with. But it didn't take long for me to be there to think to myself, okay, I can just do this job and be liked, or I can do this job and make sure I'm changing the way things are done here so that the next woman that comes along has a better experience. And so that meant going in and turning my mic on, even when it wasn't my segment, and being like, okay, guys, throw like a girl. Really, what is this? Like 1975, can we have about, and making sure that I stood up for women when there were no women hosts. I was doing update, during the break. So it was pretty early on that I realized that there was a pivot point, which was, do I want to do this and get as famous and rich and popular as possible and not rock the boat? Or do I want to do this in a way that feels much more meaningful to me than just talking about sports, which I love, but I would not feel validated by spending my life talking X's and O's and who has the best batting average, unless I also was taking that opportunity to uplift female athletes, female media members and such.
Thank you, Sarah. I am so inspired by her. I think about her all the time in a non-creepy way. I feel like after that interview with her, I don't know about you, Jen, but some people have those lasting effects that you go back to, and she was one of those people for me.
100%. From one trailblazer to another, Joy Taylor is a TV and radio host for Fox Sports 1. And I want to highlight this next clip because I think it's just such an important conversation to have. And I'm really happy that we're having it here on Locker Room Talk.
I mean, let's just be honest, with most issues that come up with women when they speak up, the first default response is that she's lying, or that she's saying this to ruin his life, or she's saying this to get money. And I really don't know when that transition happens. I feel like people used to believe women, at least to some degree, but that those days are over. So yeah, I mean, the victimizing the victim thing was really what triggered me, because people used to say the same thing to me. And that's why I thought it was important to speak up, because there's a lack of education about how this happens. And this is very, very common, very common. I think it's 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 women will experience abuse or domestic abuse at some point in their lives. So this is not a thing that's exclusive to a certain demographic of people at all. Rich, poor, every race, religion, country, it doesn't matter. It happens everywhere, all over the world. And it's very, very common. So you don't have to go far to find somebody who's experienced abuse. But yeah, to your point, you wouldn't just someone's not going to walk up to you and be like, I plan on treating you like for the next 6 months. Get in my car. No one's doing that. They present as the best thing that's ever happened to you. And also abusers are very well, not trained, but they have a keen eye and intuition to find people who have an emotionally vulnerable space for them to slip into. And that's where they get you.
Our conversation with Joy really represents everything that we want this platform to be. Unfiltered discussions about everything and anything in a way that we as women want to do it. And sometimes our guests take the words literally right out of our mouths. Let's go to this next clip with Joy, because I'm sure that it wasn't just the words in my mouth that she took out. Let's watch.
What makes you crazy in this world?
What makes me crazy?
Mm-hmm.
Dumb people talking about stuff they don't know about. It's my number one pet peeve in life, and it's accelerated over the last couple of years. And it's not even just people who are dumb, even people that I respect who are just being willfully ignorant about something is very, very frustrating. I don't know a lot. In fact, in the grand scheme of life, I know very, very little about anything. And I consider that to be very normal. But my awareness of my lack of knowledge is apparently not normal, because everybody knows everything about anything now. And you absolutely don't. I am not an expert in veterinary work. I don't know what's wrong with this cat. I'm going to take it to a veterinarian, because that's what they do. If this plumbing is leaking, I'm not going to try and fix it myself. I'm going to call a plumber, electrician, I don't know, a doctor, epidemiologist, perhaps. It's just a woman about their body. I just don't understand when it became cute to be loud and dumb. And so many people are that. And there's this idea that there's some shame in admitting that you're wrong, or admitting that you got it wrong, or admitting that you changed your mind on something because you got new information. It's fascinating. Oh, well, last month they said it was this. Yeah, that's how science works. It's called an experiment. It's called a theory, a hypothesis. Obviously, you were not paying attention in 7th grade, which explains a lot. I'm not a scientist, but I do know how science works. How about if you tear your ACL and you go to the hospital to get a surgery done, and the doctor says to you, would you like us to do the surgery that they did in the 1970s where they cut your entire leg open and stapled it from your thigh to your ankle? Or would you like us to use this laser beam? Oh, you want the 70s one because they changed their mind from the 70s to 2021? It's just mind-numbing how stupid people are.
I mean, she took the words right out of my mouth.
I can't even express to you, Jen, how grateful I am to be doing this show, to have you as my co-host, to be doing this show with you, to be interviewing these incredible women. When you think of how far we have come, we started this show back in March, April of 2021, and here we are. It's the end of the year. We're in December, looking forward to a new calendar year. And it's just incredible, all the conversations we've had.
This has been amazing. And I agree. The conversations that we've had have just been extraordinary. I'm so thankful to the guests who have come on our show, blessed us with amazing conversations, and to the fans and the people who support us and want us to continue to grow. Because I know that this is just a platform that can keep going and going and going, giving women an opportunity to really share their stories.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole reason we started this show is because there is no one true library of stories, of origin stories, of stories of ascension for women who have come up and been able to do what they've always wanted to do and make an impact and be a trailblazer in the world of sports and the business of sports. So that's why we do this. This is Locker Room Talk. And Jennifer and I would like to thank our incredible crew of all women, might I add. Christina Berger, our technical director, Lauren Salturo, she's our executive producer, Jessica Stone, also our producer. Just so wonderful to have an incredible team of women behind us fueling this show.
Yes, I can't say it any better than Julie just said. Thank you to everyone who supported us, who has supported us, will continue supporting us. And yeah, women, we get it done.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays, and may you have a very happy new year.